morning. What's your name? What do you do?
Elise Klein. I'm president and founder of Teachers Against Prejudice, and we work with students, teachers, parents, and concerned citizens tearing down the walls of prejudice and discrimination, and we do all of it by using media.
What's the website?
www.teachersagainstprejudice.org.
Org.
We're a 501c3.
Nonprofit.
We are a nonprofit.
So you can't support political candidates with what you're doing with that organization?
No, we're actually what we do is, for example, we publish information on bringing the whole idea of elections from elementary school through university into the classroom.
Make the kids aware politically.
Absolutely, and also make them aware from first grade on, because by the time they get to be 16, 17, 18, it's too late.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That is what set up the supposed two parties that have always been. The one party has been in collusion. The two parties have always been in collusion. Yes. We're in the position that we're in because they want to play the
Excuse me, do you know how this works?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I think it's
Fairfield Green Party's decision whether I should continue through to the election in the effort to get at least 1% of the vote so that we save ourselves the energy in 2008 by reserving a slot in the House. Okay? Or whether I should bow out so that Diane Farrell's chances would be better. And so today, simply keeping that promise.
Well, Adam's going to speak, and then afterwards, when Diane gets here, when is she going to be leaving?
She's on her way. So
then how long will she be here?
I'd say like 15, 20 minutes.
Yes, I am.
You are?
Yes.
Regarding Diane's transportation policy, energy, environment, and education policy. That will do a lot of things like this to make it more difficult for third party candidates at the last minute. And the reform movement was so political, so I didn't want to tinker with any part of it and jeopardize not passing. But I think that's why it happened.
Diane Farrell amending her energy platform to include her support for an orderly phased shutdown of the two nuclear power plants, and with respect to Indian Point, opposition to the current effort to relicense that facility for 20 years.
Oh yes, she discussed it with TMC yesterday, and I wouldn't want to.
And I think you should raise that when she's here, because you may have discussed it yesterday, but obviously not everybody was on that conversation.
I've been working over the past few years to organize the fourth Congressional District,
What was your experience prior to working with Diane?
I ran Denise Nampier's race for state treasurer, who is currently our state treasurer, worked in Bridgeport, politics, won a few races there, worked in Norwalk, and worked at the state Democratic Party.
What's your personal stance on nuclear power?
My personal stance on nuclear power? My personal stance on nuclear power is that I'm personally against nuclear power.
Okay, good. Well, that's
I come from, my father's a Presbyterian minister. I went to a Quaker school. I'm pretty much as far left as you can come.
Oh, okay, well, that's a great follow-up to a question. What's the religious link to nuclear power?
That's a great question. I couldn't answer that, so I don't know.
He'll be researching that.
I have one. Yeah. The religious link to nuclear power is that the half-life of plutonium is 250,000 years. And so if a politician or a bureaucrat claims they're going to keep us safe from nuclear waste, they are claiming that they're going to keep us safe for a longer time
than God.
and a longer time than in the normal biological course of events we can expect to be a species. And they're going to do this in 4-year intervals of administration. So I wonder how they want to do it.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry to disagree with that. And priority to this, administration are disaster. And, Chris Hayes is a nice guy who has a better than average environmental record for a Republican, who has a below average environmental record for a Democrat. And the first vote he's going to cast for guys who have abysmal records on the environment. Those are the facts. Now, I'm delighted, Dick Cheney's coming in this Friday night for a fundraiser. But, you know, the president's been here, the vice president's going to be here, Newt Gingrich has been here, Ray Wood has been here, his replacement John Boehner's been here, and Dennis Patrick's been here. And like it or not, the reality is if these guys win back to Congress again, it is terrible for a lot of priorities that we share mutually in the Senate. And I know from my numbers, I've got polls that show me up, polls that show me down. They've got the same thing, and we'll be spending all this money again. This race is literally going to come down to every vote. It's that elemental. And if I had a different sense, I'd be honest with you about it, but I know that it's literally going to be hand-to-hand combat, fighting for every single voter that comes to the poll. So, and it's a self-interest position that I'm giving to you. I mean, I'm not trying to be altruistic about this. I think Richard's done a phenomenal job. I think that if Richard supports me and we're able to garner those votes, it literally can come down to the difference between you and me.
Thank you.
So with that, we have to take questions.
To oppose the war, what benefit is there to stay for whatever time frame you recommend?
I can only tell you that I would not have voted to go over there. We're stuck over there now.
What's the
I
benefit
keep
of
wanting
staying?
to try. I don't see a benefit. I get so frustrated.
Yeah, you don't see a benefit.
You want to know why? You want to know why? Because I have a cousin in Baghdad right now. We should have been home on August 1st, and he's there for another 5 months. And I am writing a check for personal value. So this is not a theoretical question for me. This is a life and death question for me about a member of my family. I respect the fact that he's in the U.S. military. And I'm pissed as hell that this administration has done such a shitty job with this war. And that happened. So goddamn tired about this war that I can't even begin to tell you. And I'm sick to death of being told that calling for Rumsfeld's resignation doesn't make a difference. It makes every difference in the world. I ran a town for 8 years. When people weren't functioning, I replaced them. And I demanded some form of a solution so we could get out of the problem. And we are just spinning our wheels right now. Because everybody's got a plan or a theory or wants a date. Only one person can call the troops home. That's the President of the United States. And nobody, in my opinion, in the Congress, is holding to speak to the fire on this issue. They should have had a vote of no confidence on Rumsfeld. They could have impeached Rumsfeld. That's what the Constitution says. That would have been an action that would have gotten his ass in gear to start to do what we have to do to get these troops home. Now, forgive me, because you haven't heard me with that tone in a debate. But I got to tell you something. I am so goddamn tired of everybody saying, here's my plan, what's your plan? That is entirely irrelevant. I want them home yesterday. I wouldn't have sent them to begin with. Okay? I also know, and Richard's worried about this, you pull them out right now, you've got massive Syria. I have always said there were 2 tracks in Iraq, and I'm seeing the second one pulling ahead. And I've said this for over a year. You are looking at a situation where unless we get it under control, we're going to be evacuating troops. It's going to look exactly like it did in Vietnam. And just about everybody in this room remembers those images. But I've got to tell you something. I am so frustrated sitting on the sidelines and being asked as if I'm the military expert who has the solution, or that I am the single commander-in-chief who can control the situation on my own. I can't. I have to act as a member of Congress to build a coalition, to force the administration to do its job, and to sit up and recognize and admit to the fact. That's what's so goddamn frustrating for me about this war right now. And you want to talk about character, let me tell you something. I will be down there in January in everybody's face to get a solution to this situation and to get these guys home. Because that's the first thing that we should be doing in Congress right now. That's why when I push back on Richard about impeachment, I don't want to get mired in a political imbroglio right now about impeachment. I want to solve the problem. And I want to hold the president to account on that problem. So that's why I said, forgive me for getting pissed off, but that's where I am on this issue. And you want somebody that angry down in Washington in January, not somebody kissing the president's ass and saying, I bring letters, I've gone to Iraq 14 times, so I know more. Bullshit, you know more. People are dying and you're writing letters. Come on. That's where I am.
Thank you. Yeah.
I wonder if you would be willing to commit to updating your energy platform to come out for A, phased orderly shutdown of Indian Point and Millstone, and B, opposition to renewal of the license for Indian Point. Right now, they're getting into process to extend the license for an additional 20 years. And as you know, it would be impossible to evacuate the state, your district, if there were an accident or something catastrophic to take place in Indian Point.
Yeah, certainly, as we discussed in my office, I think phasing out Indian Point makes a lot of sense. I've toured both plants, and I was frankly astonished at how Indian Point is tucked into such a dense area, and there is absolutely no way you could have any kind of organized evacuation efforts. I mean, it's just simple. I drove one way to get there, a different way to get home. It's just not right. I'd be more than happy to testify at the license renewal hearing to suggest that the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission not renew for the length of time they want, and that we work on a serious phase-out plan. And there's good political momentum for doing that. Still got to deal with what you do after the plant is abandoned and what happens to the spent fuel rods, which is another issue. But absolutely, I have no problem with that. Millstone is a newer facility, slightly, well, not slightly, less populous than what you got in Indian Point. But some of this also